trade that we're going to touch base on today happened in the offseason last year. It's not the biggest, but we had Kelly Shopik, who was our starting catcher. God knows why we didn't have anyone better, so he was our starting catcher. And of course, if he starts for us, we got to trade him. So we shipped him off to the Tampa Bay Rays. We got a player to be named later. But unlike most trades, we actually did get a real player. And he's made our starting rotation. This player, of course, is Mitch Talbot. Talbot is a guy that, while he may not have pitched well this year by ERA standards, he has remained in the rotation. So, what else can you tell us about Mitch Talbot?
Well, as far as Mitch Talbot goes, he has pitched well by Cleveland Indians standards. I think he's got 9 or 10 wins and an ERA that's slightly under 5, which, let's face it, at this point in time is, heaven sent for a Cleveland Indians starting pitcher. But, Mitch Talbot is going to be a back end of the rotation guy, probably a 4th or 5th starter. But the thing that's really bothered me about him lately was he was a guy that had arm problems in AAA. You make the trade for him, and in his last 4 starts, he has not pitched more than 2 innings for the Indians. He's either been shelled or he's gotten hurt in all of those starts, and it just makes you wonder, like, what are we doing when we trade for players? I mean, we trade for guys that are injury prone, kind of like an Anthony Reyes, who he's been on the Indians disabled list for 60 days the entire year and has never played. So it's just a trade that has just kind of been whatever.
So your final grade for it would be?
I'm not even going to give it a grade, an incomplete, until the guy can pitch more than a couple innings a game. Whatever.
I'll give it somewhere in the B to C range, just because normally when you get a player to be named, you never hear about that player. I mean, this is basically a team saying, please take this guy's salary. We don't want to pay him. We don't care about winning. Welcome to the Cleveland Indians. But in this case, we actually had a guy that's stuck in our rotation, so I'll put this trade in the B to C range.
Alright, well, it's about that time for me to discuss Grady Sizemore and give these people reason why I say he's not going to be with the Indians next year. So, much to the plight of our good friend Luke Harbaugh, who is in love with Grady Sizemore unconditionally and wholeheartedly, I see him being gone next year just for the fact that Grady Sizemore has a player option next year for about $7 million. Now, that $7 million looks great when you can sit on the bench and play 7 games and collect your money when you're hurt all the time. Grady Sizemore's been hurt for the last 2 years and has really not lived up to his future perennial all-star billing that everybody around the nation gave him, when he was close to being a 30-30 guy, and or he was a 30-30 guy.
Yep.
So, it's just very disappointing. And the Indians have a plethora of young outfielders that, they need to play. You got Trevor Crowe, Michael Brantley, and Matt Laporta can play the outfield, and Jordan Brown and Nick Weglars in the minors. And there's just a bunch of young guys that play the outfield that are a much cheaper option than Grady Sizemore. So I guess 2 things are possibly going to happen. Number 1, Grady Sizemore is going to come back healthy next year. He's going to just be a stud, and we are going to trade him before the deadline. Or number 2, Grady Sizemore is going to come into next year. He's going to continue to suck and just eat up our cap space after he picks up his option, and the Indians are just not going to re-sign him the following year. So, either way, I feel that, Grady Sizemore has seen his last days in Cleveland.
And if he starts producing, they will trade him.
Yes, and then, he'll be gone. He's injury prone. You just don't know. Is his elbow going to be good? Is his back going to be good? Or his legs going to be good by that point in time? He's a speedy guy that, let's face it, he strikes out more than Greg does with the women. So, I mean, what are you getting?
And that's our show today about the Cleveland Indians. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed telling you how bad the Indians trades have been. Tune in next time. We'll do a Browns versus Ravens recap where Josh is very unhappy. Until next time, stay desperate, Cleveland.